Welcome to lesson number 3, sight singing do, re, mi, and tiki tiki ti. We're going to learn a little bit more about rhythm, and we're going to learn sol and mi. So turn to page 6 if you're a student. You can turn to page 46 if you're an adult, or you can just follow along on page 6. Here we go. Do you see these 8 squares right here? You're going to be a robot, and you're going to touch each one as I sing. We're just going to beat, 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 just like that, just steady, steady. Now, one of these beat squares, most of them just have a ta in it. Remember, ta, 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 ta. One of them is going to have a tt. So I want you to listen. Don't draw anything. Don't write anything. But I want you to listen and see if you can figure out which square actually has the tt. Okay? And then we'll see if we can mix together. So just listen as I sing and touch. 1, 2, get ready, go. She sells seashells down by the seashore. Did you find the square that had 2 things happen in it, where the tt was? Let's try it again and see if you're right. She sells seashells down by the is right there. So we're going to put our tt. Would you draw a tt in that square? Just touch it. It's not the end. It's not the next to the end. It's the one before that. There's a tt. So we're going to draw 2 heads and 2 stems, and then they're going to hold hands with a stick with a beam. So right here I'm going to draw a tt. The rest of them were all tas. Would you fill in all the rest of your squares with tas? Just write a ta in every one. And then let's try it together, and we're going to sing. We'll just sing the ta, tas, and the tts, okay? So ta, 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 tt, ta, ta. Excellent. Go to page 7, where it says A9, and there are actually tas and tts with words on what's called a staff. And that's how music is written. It's actually not written in beat squares, but we can use beat squares to learn. It's written on a staff. So this time what I'd like you to do, instead of writing in the notes or on the beat square, I want you to actually draw a square around the notes. So I have drawn a square around the tt. Can you do that with me? Just draw a square on the tt, and then you're going to draw a square on every one of the other ones. And we can do the same thing. She sells seashells down by the seashore. Okay, we're going to do the same song one more time. Look at A10 right here. There are 2 signs. These are hand signs. And there's 2 syllables. One of them's a sol and one's a mi. So here's sol. Sol, mi. I want you just to watch what I do as I sing this. My cat wants to sing with me. You ready? She sells seashells down by the seashore. Can you try it with me? One of them's a high note. It's a high sound. She. And one of them's a lower sound. Sells. So we're just going to go back and forth between high and low. Try it with me. She sells seashells down by the seashore. Excellent. You just learned 2 solfa hand signs. These are called Curwen signs. Children don't need to know that, but these are the Curwen hand signs, and then the syllables are called solfa or solfege or solfeggio. I like solfa. Okay, let's look at A11. Let me turn. It says under A11 right here. It says page 47. So that's where I can get information of what I'm teaching on page 47. And it looks like, oh yeah, this is great. We're going to write rhythm syllables in the beat squares below, as directed by your teacher. Practice one group of beat squares at a time. Touch each beat square to a steady beat and speak the rhythm syllables. So here are 3 lines of beat squares. Write the tts and tas as I write them in the first row of beat squares after the number 1. So just look at number 1, and I'm going to write some, and I would write them on a board probably, or else I could hold up my book. But here's the first row. So I'm going to go back to page 7, and I'll just do it with my kids right here. Okay, everybody point to number 1. I'm going to tell you what to write. So let's start with, let's put in the very first square, let's do a ta. And then let's do a tt. And then let's do a ta and a ta. How's that? Okay, so we're going to do it together. We're going to say this in a steady beat. Ta, tt, ta, ta. Try with me. Ta, tt, ta, ta. Number 2, I believe, let me go back to page 47. Number 2, you will get to partner up with someone in our class to write a rhythm in line number 2. So everybody turn to the person next to you, and then I would set for everybody up. We're going to just do it together. So you can decide if you want tas or titis. We're just going to do ta and titi for this. Okay, so we just repeat it. We do a different rhythm and let a few people say what they got, but we're going to practice our tas and titis. And then everyone gets to do their very own thing on line number 3, and they'll be pretty excited about that. So these first sections are really just to understand ta and titi, to feel that steady beat and to go on. On page 48, let's see, what happened to B1? There's a few things in page 48 that go beyond. It's just an extra one that students could do. And in that case, there isn't anything in the front, and so you can just do it on page 49. But it's the same thing. We're just listening to a song, singing it, and then practicing the tas and titis. We're just trying to hear them, ta and titi. But if you go to B1 on page 8, where it says she sells seashells, what we're actually going to do here is put in the rhythm symbols, and then we're also going to put in the sol or the mi. So we'll learn it first. She sells seashells down by the seashore. So we'll write in the rhythms. So here, I'll just show you on page, what page are you on? 8. We always start with the rhythm because you have to have a place to put the solfa, the notes. So rhythm is actually first. Rhythm is the fundamental element of a melody. So we'll start with that, and we write in ta, 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 ti, ti, ta, ta. One of my students asked me the other day, what is that little line? I was like, oh, well, that's because seashells is one word. If it's one word. Is that one word? Anyway, so we had a little English lesson at the same time. She sells seashells down by the seashore. So we draw in ta, ta, ta. So we just draw it in. Let me just kind of show you a little bit. And they all just kind of sing it and say it and then draw in their things. I'm just going to draw in a couple because I use this book all the time and I don't want to fill it all the way up. And I'm also drawing very lightly. But you can do this on a board, whatever. So we'd write them in like this, and then we would go back and we'd do our sounds. We'd say, okay, which mi or sol was high? Sol is high. Sol, mi, sol, mi. So we say, does it start on a high one? She sells, or low. It starts on the high. So when we do the hand signs, we do not have to draw a hand every time. That would be so hard. And we don't even have to write those words. We can just write the first letter. So we can just write this. And we'd go. So, mi, so, mi, so, mi, so, mi. So let's imagine that I had all of those tas and titis in there. But I say, I have my, so yeah, I have a syllable for each one. Now I can sing it. This is actually singable music. It's just not on a staff, but you can sing it. And then notice when there's a titi, we have a rhythm or a syllable, a solfa syllable under each one because they all need to be there. Each one of them will sing something, right? Okay.